What's up, man? I'm so happy to have you here. I just so happen to have great friends. And so you're one of my friends that I've had for, once again, over 10 years now.
Great.
When we look back on it, you're getting old. I'm just aging. It's a different. um, I, I'm really happy to have you here. And I've been watching you on LinkedIn and seeing all of the amazing things that you've been doing professionally. And I just had to reach out because you're always joyful. I remember, shoot, at this point, it might have been about 7 years ago at this point that we talked back and forth about how you wanted to become what you are, which we will mention after we get this first question, one of the most important questions out of the way, which is, do you like your job, man?
I do. I like my job a lot.
Do you enjoy Mondays, or are you dreading waking up and having to get there?
Absolutely not. I really enjoy my job. So that was intentional. When I started in my career, I didn't like what I did. There's many different areas of my job. That particular area I didn't like, so I made a conscious effort to intentionally change that. In the last 2.5 years, I've changed that, and I am eternally grateful for my wife for backing me on that and taking me down the path I'm on now, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
That's so important and so powerful, man. I have a picture that I saved in my phone from years ago, and I remember sitting on my couch and staring at my shirt and my clothes that I had to put on. I was like, man, I don't, I don't want to do this. It was like I took that picture and was like, we're gonna look back at this image and know that we did something about this feeling. And
Exactly.
I'm certainly proud and happy to say that. And a part of the reason that question has to be asked first is so that people know that I am bringing people that actually are passionate about what they do, enjoy what they do. Because as I always say, if you're working 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 plus hours a week and you don't like your job, let's be clear, you're not disliking your job. You're disliking 40 plus hours of your life because there's no separation
Exactly.
whether you want it to be or not. And so we got to make sure people are getting exposure to those people who enjoy their jobs, as well as are being paid and compensated in a way that they're able to enjoy their lives. And with that being said, man, let's introduce them to break down exactly what you do and what company you work for if you want to share that.
No problem. So I'm a corporate tax attorney with a focus in M&A. M&A stands for mergers and acquisitions. So as I said earlier, when I graduated law school back in 2017, so I'm a recently minted attorney for the last 3 years, been practicing for 3 years now. I started off in litigation, commercial litigation, which I did not enjoy. Loved the firm I was with, but did not like the practice area. So during that year I was with the firm, my wife and I put a plan together to change that. So I got my tax LLM from the University of Florida, #2 tax program in the country. Shout out to UF. So I got my tax LLM, and then I made the transition from litigation to corporate tax and M&A. And currently, it's public information. I posted on Facebook and LinkedIn that I recently accepted a job about 5 weeks ago, L3 Harris Technologies Inc. In Melbourne, Florida, and I'm an in-house counsel in their M&A group. Absolutely love what I do. Absolutely, absolutely love what I do.
We go hop. I'm gonna just well before I get there, let me calm myself down because I got excited and I'm gonna say it. Actually, I'm gonna say it. Screw it. I immediately when you said Florida, I'm like, this guy got a good situation. There's just no state income tax there.
Exactly.
It's like going there. They like going to Florida and Texas because they don't state income tax.
Exactly.
Well, can you actually explain what that means to be a corporate attorney? Because frankly, most people know attorneys as people who are either defendants, I mean, they're prosecuting,
Yep.
or they're defending their client. And it's like, wait, what's these other options out here? Because there's many different types of attorneys that aren't out here prosecuting people every day.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you're right. The common misconception. Sorry, my son just walked in. The common misconception that we see all the time is, there's only two types of lawyers, right? The prosecutors and the public defenders, and that's far from the truth. And especially among, our community, Black folks, we don't see many Black corporate attorneys. We don't see many Black commercial litigators. Why? Because we only grew up knowing public defenders and prosecutors, right? So my job is within the law firm, and now in my company, is to represent the company, and my company is the client, right? So the business leaders want to move forward on buying a company, selling a company, doing transactions, reorganizing the company, lowering certain tax liability, so on and so forth. And I know that narrative is not very popular in the mainstream right now about companies not paying their fair share or whatever. But I disagree with that, and I'll get to that later. But again, what I do is I represent the company in restructuring and organizing, because anyone can start a company, and my job is to help them from inception of the company all the way through to eventual sale. So whatever it needs to comply with the government, filing the proper paperwork, reviewing, certain income statements, their balance sheets, so on and so forth, and making sure it makes sense to them buying another company or selling their company, and having them, register with SEC to go public or private offerings, so on and so forth. So my job is in a lot of different areas. So overall, it's encompassed by corporate law. I'm not sure if that was succinct.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. So what made you choose this career? Like, what do you enjoy about this?
So I first found my calling as a lawyer when I was in high school, actually. A personal injury attorney came, so I was in a public speaking course. A personal injury attorney came to my class and gave a speech. That got me motivated to look into what being a lawyer is. The more research I did, I knew I didn't want to become a public defender, prosecutor, or personal injury attorney. But I was like, what can I do that I believe would make an impact to my community, and where do I see myself in the future and the grand scheme of my career? So I started doing more research, and I found corporate law, and I dug deeper and deeper and deeper, reached out to other attorneys, just did some research, and Google is a hell of a thing, right? So I was able to get just a basic understanding of it, and then apply to law school after college, and I haven't looked back since. I'm glad I made a decision.
Okay. So what's the challenges about your job?
So one of the main challenges I've faced in the past, it's very stressful. Being a lawyer is very lonely. You're part of a team, yes, but the projects I've worked on are massive, and you have to be competent to handle your portion of the project, right? Because that's what they're paying you for. So you spend hours looking over purchase agreements, contracts in general, and just going through the minute nuances and trying to get each section to match up with other sections, and going back and forth with opposing counsel on the language that their client wants versus what your client wants, and trying to bridge the gap.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, I found that the simplest solution is never found with lawyers. I've heard the joke, lawyers complicate things, but I disagree, because at the end of the day, in the moment, the client's looking, hey, let's get the deal done, let's get the deal done. My job as your counsel is to ensure that, one, the deal's done today, but 5-10 years from now, there's no ambiguity in the language that I use. There's no issues or litigation that pops up in 5-10 years. Not only are we representing them now, but we're looking ahead saying, hey, I've seen this before from other clients or from public information. This is what they fought over in court. Let's avoid this altogether. If we can work it out now with certain unambiguous language, we can avoid that in the future. And that's my goal with all my clients.
Okay. What's interesting is that's the answer, because if it were me, it would have been memorizing everything that you had to memorize in order to do this job, and then be able to just call it out at any given moment. I'm assuming that's how this works, but It may,
To a certain extent, yes. So we have to have the baseline knowledge, and that's what they call it, the bar, passing the bar, the baseline. But one thing I had to learn as a young lawyer, still learning now, is you're not required to know everything. A client asks you a question, you can say, I don't know right now, or I'll find an answer for you. Because they might give you a scenario or situation that has a general answer, right? For all lawyers know the general answer is it depends, right? So when you give me all the facts, I'll then apply the facts to the law or apply the law to the facts in whatever jurisdiction you want me to, because Florida's law is different than Ohio law. Delaware's law is different from Hawaii law. So again, you have to apply the law to the facts in the jurisdiction, right? And even in the state of Florida, I've come across in litigation where the Middle District of Florida is different than the Northern District of Florida. Same state, right? But different outcomes on similar facts, right? Depending on the judge, depending on my minute nuances in the law or minute nuances in the facts might change the outcome altogether. So we've been taught not to give a generalized answer if we can't. I mean, if the client wants something straightforward, it's like, hey, this is what it is. However, this could potentially happen. If you want me to go back and dig deeper, I can do that for you. So we're supposed to know the baseline stuff, but always to shore up our answers and to CYA, we do some research and give the proper answer.
okay. So you mentioned the bar, and we're going to talk about how to get to your position. That was the actual question I was curious about. So what is the bar? And it sounds like you had to pass it. And what happens to an attorney who doesn't pass the bar? You always hear in the movie that he passed the bar, and it's like, okay, yeah, man, he passed the bar. What does that mean?
Exactly.
So if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. So the bar exam for me was a grueling 11-week experience, which absolutely sucked. Never want to do it again. Did it once. I'm happy to say I did it once. Never want to do it again. So literally the day I graduated law school, I celebrated with my family Saturday to Sunday. I was in the library studying 6 days a week for 10 and a half weeks. And the bar exam in Florida, or I believe everywhere actually, is the last Tuesday and Wednesday in February, the last Tuesday and Wednesday in July. So I took the July bar exam, and it's a 2-part exam, 2-day exam. 6 hours on the first day, 6 hours on the second day, and that's just Florida. Some states is 3 days, but Florida, again, I can speak for Florida. 2-day exam. The first day we do multi-state questions, and the second day we do Florida-specific questions, essays, and multiple choice questions. Don't quote me on that. I think I switched the order. I think it's multi-state first and then Florida second, or Florida first, multi-state second. I don't remember, but it's 2-day exam. So you have to score the baseline score on each section. And the benefit is if you pass the Florida section with a high mark and you fail the multi-state section, you can still pass overall, because again, your goal is just get the baseline. Because I tell people this all the time: you pass low, you pass high, doesn't matter, you pass. Right. So if you fail the bar exam, that's tough, absolutely tough. Again, I've never failed it, but I've had colleagues and friends who failed, and was able to counsel with them and discuss with them. You sulk for a day. It's life. It's terrible. You're not going to be happy about it. You just you sulk for a day, absolutely, you grieve, and then you pick yourself up and get right back to it. Second time they pass, and they were ecstatic. So what happens is you have to wait the 6-month period. You can't take it again. Again, it's only offered twice a year. It's ridiculously expensive to take because you have to pay for it. Oftentimes, without passing the bar exam, you cannot work as a lawyer, right? Law firms can hire you, but you'll be a clerk, as they call you, but you can't go to court, can't represent clients, none of that stuff, because you're not a lawyer yet. You can practice under someone else's license as a clerk, but you're not an attorney yourself. And you get an unlimited amount of time to take it. However, here's a caveat: you have to take what's called the MPRE, which is the ethics portion of the bar exam, and the score for that lasts 24 months. So if you pass and you fail, if you pass the ethics portion, which is, it's a separate exam held at a different location than the bar exam, you can take it a year before the bar exam, which is awesome. But then if you fail the bar exam and don't pass it again within those 2 year, in the 24-month period, you'll take MPRE again. So the results only last for a certain amount of time. Similarly, with certain sections of the bar exam. So if you pass, say, the Florida specific portion, but you fail the multi-state portion, right? You don't have to go back and take the Florida specific portion. But again, that score only lasts for a certain amount of time. So if you don't pass the other portion in that time, unfortunately, you have to take it all over again.
So you can literally miss and match. Sorry if I'm using the terminology wrong, but you can mismatch like your actual bar exam. So I passed this one test, I don't have to take that one again.
Exactly.
I go up and only do this one within that time frame.
Exactly.
Okay, not bad, not bad.
I mean, it'd be unfair for them to say you passed this portion, but they got to take it again, right? So that's again, it's a stressful exam. It's over 26 different subject areas you have to study for. So exactly, criminal law, constitutional law, property, corporate law, business law, so many different things you have to study for. It is unbelievable.
So now you actually gave me the perfect segue to my next question, which is, I know certain jobs have licenses.
Yes.
And you're licensed to do certain things in your location, your state or city. Is that the case? Because you mentioned Florida, and obviously there's a state law. There's state laws that are going to be different in each state.
Yes.
So how well does being an attorney transfer?
So
like if you switched over and you decide to go to Alabama or come to Ohio or whatnot.
So it's transferable, absolutely. However, so Florida is a unique state. Florida doesn't offer reciprocity with other states for their bar licenses, and that's because according to the people who run the bar, they want to protect young lawyers like myself. They want to avoid the more mature senior lawyers up north, practicing for 30 years, retiring, then coming down to Florida and open a practice here, right? So that gives people like me, fresh out of law school, a chance. But I disagree with that. But that's the excuse they give us. So other states offer what they call the multi-state bar exam. So you're able to take that one bar exam, and then you then pick what states you want to be barred in. And if that state offers multi-state bar exam, you take it once, you're licensed in all those states. You have to then apply to the Supreme Court of those states to get licensed officially. But again, you're still good to go. The only area I believe, and don't quote me on this, I don't remember because I didn't do it myself. I believe DC. Me as a licensed Florida attorney can apply to the DC bar and get licensed in DC to practice in DC, but it's not a state, so it's a city territory. I don't know the exact legal termination for DC, but yeah, I can't leave Florida and go practice at a law firm in other states without taking the bar exam there. However, I can leave Florida and go in-house as in-house counsel, which I'm doing now, right? So I'm a licensed Florida attorney working in-house counsel as for a Florida company, which is awesome. However, if I choose to leave Florida, come home to Ohio, for example, I can work at Procter & Gamble as their in-house counsel because my only client is the company. I'm not representing other clients around the state. I'm not practicing Ohio specific law. I'm legal counsel for the company. So if you go in-house, you can absolutely do that. And you can get waivers from the Supreme Court of each state to allow you to enter the court there on like certain occasions, special occasions. But again, you have to be barred and licensed in that state to practice there. And again, there's multiple ways to do that.
Okay, I got one more question along because now you got me thinking like I would assume, and I did no research on this, so I can't speak about this.
You're good.
I assume that a neuroscientist or neurosurgeon, would be able to leave, let's say, India and come to the United States and do neurosurgery here.
Not sure about that. Because we've seen it, from movies, and not, again, movies aren't accurate, but we've seen in actuality where people from different countries, their licenses might not transfer here. But if you're asking whether or not a neurosurgeon from Ohio can move to Florida and practice with their license, absolutely yes. So
No,
because
I'm asking, can you be? I'm assuming the answer is no, but would any country honor your degree and the fact that you passed the bar in the United States? Because obviously they have different laws, different constitutions. So I assume the answer is no.
so no, exactly, no, I can't go represent myself as an attorney there. However, as I said, I can apply to whatever the highest court is in that jurisdiction and say, hey, I'm representing this particular client in your court on this particular case. Yes, that's possible.
In
But
India,
yes, I can. So for example, my client has business in India, right? They want me to represent them. I would go there, but obviously I'd advise them to hire local counsel because local counsel knows the laws there. But if they say, no, I want you to go, I can then apply to the highest court in the jurisdiction that I'm going to be going to, and then go there with, obviously, the advice and consent of my client and with the advice and consent of local counsel there. Because again, I don't know the laws there, but my job is to protect my client, so I'm going to do that. But I then hire local counsel there, and then I'll be working with them to advance my client's position.
in a situation like this, and I'm just helping the young person or the older person who's interested in this position um, flush out this thought because it allows them to know they can travel and aren't just stuck in the States if they don't want to be. What are you doing at that point? Because I would assume that your counsel is really the ones that are knowledgeable about things, and you're probably representing your client by knowing what their desires are and speaking on behalf of their desires, but not the legal side of that conversation.
And that's exactly it. And you hit the nail right on the head, because it would be foolish of me to be arrogant enough to like, hey, I'm going to go to India and represent my client here. Absolutely not. Like, the goal is to get the client the best representation possible. Unfortunately, if I go to India and represent them in India matter, like, that's not the case. But if I represent them here in Florida or in the United States as a whole, right? Because again, corporate law, the benefit of corporate law, it's very streamlined throughout all 50 states, because Delaware starts it off, and every other state follows essentially. Because have you noticed that most companies are based out of Delaware?
What do you mean?
Most companies are organized in Delaware. Apple, organized in Delaware. Procter & Gamble, organized in Delaware. They're headquartered in different places. But if you look it up, it's all public information. All these public companies and big companies, they're organized wherever they were formed, created on paper, is Delaware. Because Delaware has some of the best, I would argue, the best corporate laws in the country, and they allow privacy. So in Florida, if you create certain entities, you have to disclose the owners. In Florida, in Delaware, no need for that, right? And Delaware courts have litigated so much of the corporate questions and corporate matters before, so the law there is pretty much flushed out. So when Delaware changes, for example, LLC is a newly created entity, right, for the last 35 years or so. Delaware is the first one to kick it off. Every other state followed. So when new stuff changes in corporate law, and speaking specifically about corporate law, not criminal law, not other civil areas, specifically corporate law, Delaware is the state to be.
Is there some type of significance?
Again, the laws there are favorable to the corporation, to the entity, LLC, corporation, or whatever it may be. And again, the laws there have been flushed out to the point where there's oftentimes no ambiguity. Because
I mean, why though? Like, I mean, I got that part. I'm saying, why did they do that in Delaware? Did it just happen and it ended up being a convenient thing for corporate attorneys to know?
Yeah, so the Delaware legislature, again, is always thinking ahead, I guess. That's the best advice I have for that, or best answer. The Delaware legislature has been big. Again, the goal is to bring companies to your state, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you incentivize companies to come to your state? because you form a company in that state, you have to pay annual fees and certain organizational fees and all that stuff. Again, I don't know all the fees you got to pay for to create an entity, but you got to file annual reports, so on and so forth, and you have to pay for all that, right? So it's one way for the state to get the money. Also, taxes. If the company is organized there, right, they can potentially collect taxes there. If the company is headquartered there, also they can definitely collect taxes there, income tax, property taxes, all that stuff. So how do states incentivize those companies to come there? By giving them certain benefits and perks, right? Because remember a few years ago, the whole bidding for Amazon, the new Amazon location.
I was going to get there. I was going to ask about that. So
Exactly.
it sounds like there was a version of you involved in this, and continue the whole conversation. Literally in my brain, so I appreciate that. So keep going.
So exactly. So that's how the state legislature incentivizes companies to come there. So if you make it as streamlined as possible to create an entity and keep it going, that's companies are going to want to come. So again, and also you as an investor or you as a business owner want privacy, Delaware is one of the best states to go. As I said, in Florida, you create an LLC here in Florida, a limited liability company, you have to disclose who the owners are. Whether the owner is a trust, a person, or another company, doesn't matter. It has to be disclosed, right? In Delaware, no need for disclosure. Just need a registered agent in the state, and you're good to go. And there's a ton of different corporations that offer those services, and you just hire one of those corporations, and no one will ever know who owns the company. Again, that's for obviously, I mean, again, it's public knowledge that companies do that. And as I said, like, I know it's not popular in the narrative right now going around the country about we need more, we need more light shed on these companies. I disagree. And again, we can discuss that later or in more detail if you want.
So what is the value? You mentioned it, and I just want you, through your expertise, to articulate what is the value of an Apple coming to Ohio or New York, where it was supposed to go, or DC, or any of those type of places.
I'm a bit confused about the question.
You said that if you're any state will want a major company like that.
Yes.
And so I'm asking, what's the value to that state?
Oh, the value to that state. Okay, absolutely. Again, as I said, several reasons. One, jobs. So that company is going to hire people. They hire people in the local market. They're not going to fly people from out of state to bring them to the state to hire them, right? They're going to hire the local community. They're going to pull from the talent within that community, right? Two, for the state itself, they're going to build facilities there, right? So as you know, all these facilities have the government always takes a piece of it. So property taxes. Every year you're assessed property taxes. All these companies have to pay property taxes. Income tax, right? The company generates income. They pay their employees income. Again, Florida doesn't have a state income tax, so it's not that doesn't apply to Florida residents. But for example, in Ohio, you got to pay state income tax, right? Apple brings a location there. They hire 5,000 workers, right? That's 5,000 more people in the job market that state of Ohio can pull state income tax from, right? So you have to incentivize the companies to come there because they're paying they're incurring tax liability and other liabilities, because again, hiring somebody, the benefits that they pay, the income that they pay, among other things, the fringe benefits, right? That's an incurred cost to them, incurred liability to them. So states have to incentivize them to a certain extent to offset it. So I'm not arguing, I'm not of the position that these companies need to get all the incentives in the world, by no means. However, there has to be a fair balance that's struck, right? The company wants to hire quality talent. They want to revitalize and vitalize the local community and state. But the state also needs to play a role in getting the company there, because guess what? That's why we as electors elected these officials for them to enact our will. Essentially, they don't, but that's a theory. So they will bring these opportunities to the area.
Okay, So we're gonna get and I'm having fun here, and I know I got to get out of here, but I have to ask. So that means you're one of the people that are brokering these deals that essentially are impacting the entire state in a positive way and being able to get new roads because there's more potential money coming into that state.
So in my role, I'm not.
Money, I should say.
Again?
I said tax money, I should say, just for clarity.
Yes, yes, yes. So I am not the one brokering those deals. I am the one working on those deals, right? So again, the within any company, Apple, Google, the business leaders, the CEOs, CFOs, the business leaders are the ones, negotiating, brokering the deal. Once a deal has been identified, that's when it comes to the legal group, and then the legal group works with the city or the company. Say we're buying a company or selling a company, whatever it may be. I like the bear cat mug. Love it, love it.
Yeah.
So once a deal has been identified, we come in and then flush out the finer details, right? So again, you look at some of this information is public knowledge. Verizon and Sprint merging, right? Two massive companies becoming one, right? That's sort of what I do. My job is to draft the contract. I'm not the only one drafting it, but there's a team of lawyers drafting the contract, negotiating the contract, advising the business leaders, CEOs, CFOs, the leaders in the company. It's like, hey, here's what the law says. Here's what our position are. They tell us what they're trying to accomplish. We never tell them no. We help them navigate the legal hindrances and hurdles within the way and how to get over it, like how to get over the hurdle to accomplish the goal, right? They say, hey, we want to close a deal. Go ahead, sorry.
No, finish.
The business leaders say, we want to close a deal, right? And again, I'm in no position to, in my role, I'm in no position to be, speaking with the head honchos, my bosses, my boss's boss. They deal with the head honchos, and then we come together a team, and it's like, hey, this is what we want to do. Alexander, here's your task, get it done. So, and again, I hope I'm competent enough to get it done, which, in the last 2 years, that's been proven positive. So can't complain.
What are some of those hindrances that you're trying to get out of the way? And let's make this a two-part question just so you can go ahead and pull your soapbox out and enjoy yourself. Tread lightly, my friend. I'm not going to be the one to ask about those deeper questions, but I'm going to allow you to hop on your soapbox. So first question is, what's the hindrances that you have to help them work through? And go ahead and hop on your soapbox about why you disagree with the conversation taking place in the country.
So you've seen, you heard the word deregulate, right? Deregulation, right? So every aspect of business and every industry in the country, there are rules and laws and govern how certain things are supposed to be done, right? So my job is to research those laws, research those regulations, research those rules, because Congress passes the law, as we all know, right? Basic civil lesson. Congress passes the law, go to the executive branch, the governor, as the president, whomever may be in the executive position, mayors, enforce the law. The courts interpret the law. But the executive is only one person, one governor, one president. They can't enforce the law by themselves. So they delegate to the numerous agencies below them, right? The FDA, the EPA, all these different agencies, Department of Education, whatever it may be, right? So whatever industry in the SEC, the FCC, so on and so forth. So for example, and I'm using and again, I can speak about the deal between Sprint and T-Mobile, right? Because when they announced the merger, when it became public, we know it's been going on in the background for months, if not years. So anything that's been announced public, it's too late. Like, it's already signed, sealed, delivered. However, before it can be finalized, the government has to approve it because certain companies are so big, right? The antitrust rules that were created, right? So that's where I am part of my job is during the deal negotiations. That's where I'm working on, helping negotiate the contract, helping draft the contract, helping shore up certain provisions in the contract, avoiding ambiguities in the contract. So 5 years down the line, we're not going back and saying, hey, you didn't perform this part of the contract. We're going to fight over it in court. We don't want that. So that's where I come in. Also, another part of it, what we do is we help, corporate law in general, corporate attorneys, we help the clients once it goes public and so on and so forth, help navigate those other issues, the antitrust issues, so on and so forth. I'm not on that scale, but I can't speak too much about what I'm working on because it's all private stuff, but I can speak about public stuff in generalized, right? So part of my job is to help minimize tax liability for the client. And again, I know that's not very popular because the headlines, Apple paid zero in federal income tax. Well,
or Amazon's conversation.
Exactly, right? So again, there's a reason for that. The code was written that way, right? So, for example, I'm gonna get a little high level here as a tax lawyer. They call what's above the line deduction and below the line deductions, right? Regular natural born persons here, because corporations are persons now. I disagree with that too, but whatever. That's the law. Corporations are persons, right? Citizens United, United States Supreme Court case. So
Make sure that people know what that means. I understood because I'm looking into opportunities, but you said something like that, and I don't want it to just be heard and then people not know what you mean by that.
Yeah, so a corporation is a person, therefore they can, under the United States law, a corporation or any company is a person, therefore the people who own the company collectively, the corporation has rights as well. The right to free speech, i.e. money, the similar rights that we as individuals enjoy and exercise, they have those certain rights too. Obviously, natural born persons, i.e. humans, have certain other rights that would make no sense. Corporations can't vote. Corporations can't breed and reproduce, so on and so forth. So those rights aren't there because it just makes no sense to give them those rights. But as far as the freedom of speech goes, corporations have freedom of speech. Corporations also have, the right to Fourth Amendment right, unreasonable search and seizure. So we can't just go in, government can't go in and search through all their corporate documents and their files, stuff like that. They have to request it, and then they'll get denied. Then you got to go to court to get warrants, so on and so forth. Similarly, we enjoy those rights as well. So that's what I mean by corporations are people. Okay. And again, some of those I agree with 100%, but again, the free speech situation, not so much, because as we know in America, free speech equals money, and no individual can compete with these multi-billion-dollar corporations.
So go ahead and continue your thought process behind the disagreeing with the Amazon, or your perspective on Apple.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't disagree with that. I agree with that. I'm saying
I'm not disagreeing with the conversation.
Oh, okay, yes. I disagree with the conversation because, again, the code is written that way. Why would, again, tax avoidance is illegal, right? But minimizing your tax liability is not. So, as an individual, why would you intentionally pay the government more money than you're liable for? You wouldn't, nor would I. Right. So I don't understand the narrative that's going on now, and I disagree with it wholeheartedly, because if the code's written that way, the code can be applied equally to everyone. You just have to know, again, it's intentionally written convolutedly and it's very complex, but it can be equally applied to everyone. It's up to you to either seek out the people who know how to navigate it or learn it yourself to help yourself navigate it. And again, corporations and these entities, and I'm generalizing here, like corporations, I mean LLCs, S corp, C corp, so on and so forth, partnerships. So we're clear. These entities, they have the manpower and the people who help them navigate that. Because again, as I don't really practice much tax law in my current role, but in my prior role in my law firm before I left 5 weeks ago, I was one of the tax guys. And I help clients minimize their tax liability. So we form a company, right? We want to structure it a certain way. We form LLC. Do we want to be taxed as a C corp, Do we want to be taxed as an S corp? Do we want to be taxed as a partnership? Right? You can be taxed in several different ways as an LLC, right? However, there's also other questions you have to answer. Are we going to have employees? If no employees, how are we going to? So by checking those boxes, right, to those questions, yes or no, then we can help them determine how we're going to be taxed and how to minimize those minimize tax liability. C corps, in my opinion, there's often double taxation, one income earned and then distribution as dividends. S corps to pass through. Partnership is the most complex tax partnership. The part of the IRC code that's the most complex, in my opinion, is partnership, and so I try to avoid having my clients be taxed as partnership as much as I can. But sometimes it works out for the best.
Yeah. So I have, of course, so many questions. I will save for offline conversations, but I will give this little tidbit because I think this was the moment when it's been a couple times in life where something's going on and like I step outside of myself and I'm like, all right, Mario, did you hear what was said? And I always bring this up when Mitt Romney was running for president against Barack, obviously. His wife was being interviewed because remember the taxes, that tax conversation was happening a lot with them. His wife was sitting on the news. She was being interviewed, and you can definitely find the interview out there. And long story short, the reporters asking her a lot of questions and about the taxes and things like that. And she finally just broke and was like, I don't, this is me paraphrasing. She's like, I don't see what the issue is. We did nothing illegal. And at that moment, I watched a couple people that were present with me react and get agitated. And as I got ready to do that, I was like, wait, that was when I stepped outside of myself. I was like, hold on. There was something said there that you needed to catch. She said we did nothing illegal.
Exactly.
So how do I learn what she knows? And that's when it was like ding, hold on. Conversation. I got questions. I can't even ask her, but that was a moment for me. I was like, all right, so I'm not gonna be mad at the person driving the Corvette. I'm gonna ask them what they did so I know what I gotta do to get a Corvette. Now, there's a whole lot of politics here, which I'm intentionally avoiding. And I know because you say one thing, and I think even in what I said could give off a perception of what.
Exactly. Like I'm not trying to do that. I'm just speaking from my perspective in my job.
Exactly.
I believe the narrative is misleading, and unfortunately we haven't the populace isn't informed enough, especially on the tax code, as I said, specifically tax code, to where it's coming across positively from the other end, right? Because I mean, everyone can say, not everyone, but like the leaders are saying, certain leaders are saying, hey, we need to have corporations pay a fair share. I'm like, but they are. This is what we as a society, as the government, require them to pay pursuant to the code. So why are we saying they use the code to as they should, but now we're telling them that that's unfair? So that's what I mean. I'm not trying to get political here by any means. I'm just voicing my opinion, which doesn't matter. I'm just one man, right? Regarding how I feel about the narrative.
Mm-hmm. I fully understand, and the irony does not escape me, audience. I know some people are automatically thinking they do realize that there are two guys that are in a country legally for a reason that in theory was illegal, but legally it wasn't. And so it doesn't escape me that just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. We're just having a conversation about laws, and we're talking about a man's job and other people's jobs that are doing this, and opportunities for if you're interested in this. It ain't for everybody if you're not. And so we just making sure you have a great understanding. And I will say in the last thing before we get to you explaining exactly how one becomes a corporate tax attorney or the next Alex is just like I want to know this information. At some of those offline conversations, I'm like, so you know personally ways to make sure you're making sure your taxes are.
Minimize your tax liability. Yes. So it's different for individuals, as I said, than it is for entities, right? And breaking it down before, entities have above the line deduction and below the line deductions. Individuals only have below the line deductions. So you have, and to make it as simple as possible, you start out with your gross income, right? What the number that you see on paper, but you never really see, right? And then you
I heard you, but then I saw it and it was like, Jesus, got it.
Right, right. It's the gross income. So just like corporations, like all of us, gross income, but they're from their income, they're able to deduct certain things. For example, your employer pays your salary, right? Your employer is able to deduct 100% of that salary from their income. That's a cost to them. The fringe benefits you get, the 401k match, health care costs they cover, all that stuff. They're able to buy equipment, computers, all that stuff. They get to deduct certain costs. And again, some of those equipments can be accelerated deduction, but again, I'm not going to go into the nuances of it all. But they get to deduct before certain things that from their income. That's called above the line deduction. And that once you have that income, once you have the gross income minus those above the line deductions, you get your adjusted gross income, right? And from your adjusted gross income, you then get below the line deductions. So that's where individuals come in. Most individuals have below the line deductions, right? For example, most of us take the standard deduction every year, which is 12. I forgot exactly how much it was for 2020, like 20. I don't remember, but the standard deduction, or you itemize. Most people have to have a home, they itemize. So those are called below the line deductions to reduce your income even further. Right. So once you have the adjusted gross income minus the below the line deductions, that gives you your taxable income. So that's what gets taxed. And again, most individuals, I can't say all, never say all, right? Most individuals don't have above the line deductions. And that's where most of those deductions come into play for entities.
Yeah. Okay. So next, give us the blueprint for what you did to become the attorney that you are now. And let's start, obviously you graduated high school, so let's start from college on to now your actual path. And after you say that, if there's anything that you would have altered in that process to have gotten you to this position quicker.
Absolutely. So as you said, starting from high school, I went to college, 2 years in Cincinnati. Then I transferred out after Cincinnati down here to Florida. My major was in finance because I knew I wanted to combine my undergrad and my law degree, so corporate law. So I got my bachelor's in finance. During my time in undergrad, for my junior year, senior year, and 6 months after graduation, I worked first as a teller at TD Bank, and then I worked as a personal banker for a little bit. Took a year off between undergrad and law school. Worked as a law clerk in a local firm to see if I liked it. I wanted to ensure that, hey, I'm going to make a big time commitment, big money commitment. I want to ensure that I want to do this for the rest of my life. Did that for a year, absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. Attended Stetson University College of Law in St. Petersburg, Florida. Beautiful campus. Absolutely loved my experience there. So in law school, one caveat I have to add, not everyone can get a 4.0 in law school. So not everybody can get straight A's in law school. So law school, everyone get ranked. No, seriously, like even if, so for example, everyone, say everyone scores 100% on the exam, which would never happen. But say everyone scores 100% on the exam. You know what your grade is going to be? 3.0. Yeah. Your grades, if everyone scored 100% on an exam in law school, everyone gets a 3.0.
That's the average, ain't it?
Yes.
Did exactly. You graduate? Let's cut to the chase. I'm assuming you graduated a 4.0.
No, absolutely not. I graduated 3.5. I graduated top 25% of my class. So again,
so you got 150% on a test in
order. No, that's what I'm saying. So So I didn't know that going in either. This is something I learned in law school, and you have to work. In my experience, you have to work your butt off. So law firms recruit out of law school right away. So your second year of law school, law firms come to campus. You apply for interviews, 10-minute interviews with them. They like you enough, they invite you to the firm, to their office. They like you enough, then they make a offer for a summer job, right? You go impress them over the summer, they make an offer for a full-time job upon graduation and passing the bar. Caveat is you gotta graduate, gotta pass the bar, right? But in order for you to even be considered for those first round of interviews, you have to be in the top 10%, top 20%, top 25%, right? And only 25% can be in the top 25%. So, as I said, the misconception is it's not like undergrad, right? You can't go party all night and then come in the next day expect to do well in class. No, there's only one exam in law school. That's the final. All semester long, every class, one exam. You want to get one shot. That's it.
So if you're the 75% that didn't make it into the obvious only 25% available, does that mean that you got to go like help work at startups? And
No,
I'm not shutting down the startup because I work
no,
for a startup.
absolutely not. So again, everybody wants to go to the bigger firms, right? And so you get to work in, not everybody, let me phrase that, not everybody. Some people genuinely want to go become public defenders, some people want to become prosecutors. Absolutely. But the vast majority, again, one of the benefits of being an attorney is, the salary, right? So, and this is public information, the bigger firms, the Hogan Levels, the Cravath, all these firms, they're paying 180 coming out of law school. Right? Exactly. So again, that's in New York and DC, and down here in Florida is a little bit lower as 160, right? So those firms are paying like in Florida 160. So everybody wants to go to those firms, right? You got to bill 1,800 hours, 1,900 hours a year. So when you go big firm, small firm, medium firm, might as well go to the bigger firm and get more money. You don't have to do it for your entire life. Do it for 3-4 years. Stockpile some cash, move on, right? Again, it's very stressful. A lot of hours. At one point, I was working like 80-hour weeks. But again, you don't have to do it for your entire life, right? I did it for 3 years. I transitioned to in-house. In-house has its ups and downs. We got deals going on, we're super busy. Deals not going on, it's more 40-hour a week, right? So it's perfect. I like that. I like the upticks. I love the upticks when I'm super busy grinding out. But I also love the relax, not relax, but the more, step back approach, 40-hour weeks, call it a day, right? So again, we have to keep that in mind. I'm not going to lie to anyone who's watching this. You're going to have to grind it out for a few years to get the experience, because law school teaches you to research law, to think like a lawyer, but law school does not teach you how to practice law.
So, all right. So I'm gonna make sure we're in the right place and there's still a clear direction.
Yes.
So you graduated with the 3.5, and
And then, so fortunately for me, as I said, in the summer of my second year, I interviewed with a firm, right? They liked me enough. They recruited from my school. They recruited from UF. They recruited from Miami. And again, all these firms are recruiting from all this, not all the schools, but the top schools in the state, right? You don't want to go to every school. I'm not going to name names, but the USA, I forgot the name of the USA list all the top universities in the country, right? So you can go on that list and see what schools are higher ranked. That is, a lot of people might think it's arbitrary, but it's not. The reason why I say that is because the hiring managers from the law firms went to those schools as well. So they know the quality of the student, they know the quality of the attorney that they want to recruit, and they want to recruit their own people from their own law schools. So they go back to those law schools. For example, my law school, firm I ended up at, the managing partner, the head guy in charge, he was a graduate from my law school. So I was able to talk to him about his experience there during my interview, right? And they liked me enough during my first round of interviews. They called me for a second round in their office. I was able to meet all their attorneys. So two attorneys came to the school. Each student who you apply online, each student, if they're chosen based on your resume, you get 10 minutes with them. You get 10 minutes, like an elevator pitch, essentially. They like you enough, they call you back to their office, give you lunch. Some firms fly you overnight, you stay at a hotel, so on and so forth, depending where it is. They like you enough, you get a summer offer. And over the summer, you spend 8 to 10 weeks with them, working in different areas of the law. You interact with the staff, interact with the other attorneys. You go to networking events and summer events, like cool stuff. Dinners, restaurants, all that stuff, boating, all that stuff. They make it fun for you. Then at the end of the summer, if they like you enough, there's room. They make an offer as a full-fledged attorney. Any caveat: you graduate, you pass the bar. So
I was gonna ask, where's the bar? I'm like, I mean, we skipped past all our things over here wooing you.
Exactly.
We haven't even graduated with the bar yet. Like, I'm like,
exactly. So they obviously the firms want to recruit top talent. So again, that's where, and again, not saying your rank in school is indicative of the type of attorney you're going to be, because that's not always the case. But that's a very good indicator, right? If you're at the bottom of the class, how good are you going to be fresh out of law school, trying to go into a fast-paced environment and jumping in for feet first, right? And again, I've seen and we've heard stories about top law students who graduated top of their class, went to the firm and burned out in 2 years, right? So again, not saying one's better than the other, but I like to think you want to be well-rounded. You want to be very good in school, take it seriously, get good grades, and it's never bad to have options, right? If several firms are recruiting you, you can pit them against each other. Like, hey, this firm offered me 160. What are you offering? This firm offered me 180. Can you match it? Again, you are a hot commodity. If you are recruited heavily, use that to your advantage. So fortunately for me, I was recruited by several firms. My wife and I sat down and we decided, like, hey, this one seems like a better fit for me, what I want to accomplish. And it was, but unfortunately, it wasn't a good fit for the practice area, because there's so many different practice areas in law. There's criminal, there's civil litigation, there's family, there's corporate, there's tax. There's so many different areas. So my very first job was as a commercial litigator, representing companies in court, suing companies, defending companies, not individuals. So a couple cases I represented banks, stuff like that, during the back end of the foreclosure crisis from the 2008 situation. Again, this was years later, but I represented some of the banks in that, in my local market. Not me, my firm represented the bank. Then I was tasked by the firm to represent the bank. So yeah, second year law school, you want to do well. And I want to explain to everyone what I meant by not everyone can get a 4.0. So each class, the professor, so each school is different. So I can only speak for my schools, that's an NUF. Everyone, the scale, the average grade has to be 3.0, right? So some people are going to get 3.0, some people are going to get 3. And it goes in increments of 0.25. So 3.0, 3.25, 3.5, so on and so forth. There's no 3.99. There's 3.5, 3.75, 4.0. So what they do is, based on the exam, they give an exam, and based on everyone in the class, some people are going to get 4.0s, some people are going to get 3.75s, but then some people are going to get 2.5s, some people are going to get 2.25s. So then the weight has to be 3.0. So that's what it comes down to. And again, if everyone does well in the exam, everyone's going to get 3.0, because the average weight, average score has to be a 3.0.
So you're pretty much banking that people don't do well.
Exactly.
Curve that you're essentially, it sounds like you're being graded on a curve, frankly.
Absolutely.
And like somebody to do bad so you can hop up from your 3.0 to a 3.5 or something like
exactly. That. But again, if you knock it out of the park, you're sitting pretty, right? So again, you only get one shot at this, right? So during exams a whole, just like college, it's a whole 2-week stretch. You get a week, 4 to 5 days before to reading period, stuff like that. And again, most of the exams are open book, right? But again, open book doesn't help because there's so many different areas of the law, right? I remember my constitutional law exam, the professor literally quoted from Supreme Court cases. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me if I don't know what case he's referring to.
Man, I think that's what people sleep on until you have one in college, an open book test.
Right.
And that's simply the fact that an open book test can actually screw you over because of the fact that you spend so much time forgetting you already knew the answer was B or whatever the answer is spelled out, just
Right.
trying to make sure you fact check yourself that the test can end and you didn't answer every question because you were too busy making sure and confirming that the answer was right looking through the pages. So I definitely understand that part. So just for clarity,
Yes.
all things perfect. 4 years in college.
Yes.
How many years in law school?
3 years in law school.
Okay, so you could be done in 7 years.
Yes. But if you want to become a tax lawyer, you got to get your tax LLM.
And how much time is that?
1 more year.
And what school is that?
So that's when I went to UF, because UF has the #2 program in the world. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go back. Might as well go to a top program.
Humble brag. I'm not gonna be mad at the front. With that, what was the degree or the certification that you had to acquire to get that?
LLM. So in order to get the LLM, so in order to get into law school, you have to have a bachelor's degree. Can be whatever subject matter, but oftentimes, do a good major. Do a major that you enjoy. If you want to go to law school, it's beneficial to do finance, journalism, history, because there's a lot of reading, a whole lot of reading in law school. But all required for law school is take the LSAT, get a bar, and have a bachelor's degree. Once you once you graduate law school to go to the LLM program, all that's required is you graduate law school.
So you don't have to take a test to get into law school.
Yes, LSAT. I said that. I mentioned that.
You don't have to take a test to get to the LM.
No, you don't.
Okay. And what tests are you taking for law school?
LSAT, LSAT.
Okay. Just want to make sure I said that. Got that out the way.
Yes, and it's a scale of 120 to 180. Obviously, like the higher you score, higher to 180 you score, the better schools you can get into, and the more scholarship monies you can get.
Okay. Now you mentioned the fact that you took a break in between to really see if you were interested in this legal field, right? And sounds like you potentially got a mentor or you didn't have a mentor. How important is it to have a mentor? Because it sounds like if I'm gonna get out of here and actually have a job, I need to have relationships out there that are welcoming me. And of course, you're getting recruited, but it also is good to have something out there that's already is good.
Absolutely. So I agree with that statement 100%. You absolutely, in my opinion, should have mentors, and I think it's required, in my opinion, or should be required. I say that because I'm just going to give a little statistics. There are of all the corporate attorneys out there, and now I'm not just talking about tax attorneys, I'm talking about corporate lawyers in general, the non-public defenders, non-prosecutors, the ones in the big firms. Less than 2% of us are Black. Less than 2% of us are Black, right? In my last firm, I was
you
going
to get a surprise out of my face.
Right.
Like if that's what you were looking for. It's not going to be
no, I was trying to reiterate what I said, so no one missed it. At my last firm, I was the only Black attorney ever. Like, not in 10 years, but ever, right? So, yeah. Because most of my counterparts, what they know is, again, public defense and prosecution. And then nothing wrong with that, because, we absolutely need to change the criminal justice system, but there's other ways to do that. And that's why I chose this path. But going back to the question that was asked before I went on a tangent there, my apologies, mentors. I was fortunate to have met phenomenal mentors, professors, and practicing attorneys while I was in law school. So my very first mentor was a judge. So I joined BALSA, which is Black Law Student Association, and I just got lucky and got paired with him. He offered to be a mentor for one of the BALSA students, and I was his chosen mentee. And to this day, he and I connect once a month. Absolutely phenomenal attorney. He's now a judge here in Pinellas County. Absolutely phenomenal judge. And then during my time in law school, I met other attorneys and practitioners. I met my mentor. He was a partner at a big firm in Tampa. Phenomenal guy. My wife and I, have dinner with he and his wife all the time. It's been an amazing experience. I also got connected with another gentleman who was one of my professors, and we hit it off from one of my classes, my M&A class, now practicing M&A. He told me he connected. He and I were able to connect after I graduate. Had lunch, and he told me he chose to mentor me, I guess, after I initiated the conversation, for one simple reason. The reason was I didn't ask him for a job, right? Because he said all law students have come to him before, because he was the general counsel. He's not retired, but he was the general counsel of TECO Energy, Tampa Electric Company. So it means he's the top attorney and executive in that company. And he was telling me that other law students came to him at the same time I did, but all they wanted was, they're asking for a job. I didn't ask for a job. One, I already had a job, so I couldn't ask. So
best way to get a job is to already have a job.
Right.
It's so valuable and important for people to catch that. It's like,
so it's funny because like he and I just hit it off, and he again, in my current role, he wrote me a recommendation for this role because, again, he was general counsel for TECO Energy, a big, massive public company, and people in the industry know him. So he if he's vouching for me, that's great. And then even in college, I had mentored the vice president. So after I left Cincinnati, came down here, and the vice president of my university, I just so happened to I got a job in her office as a clerk, essentially, and I hit it off for her. And 2 years I was there. Like, actually, literally spoke to her today, Dr. Doris Jukic, and it's been a phenomenal experience. Like, I was able to go. She hired me not only in her. I mean, I was a student worker in the office, but then she hired me outside of that to do stuff for her and her husband. Her husband's a doctor. She's a PhD, and I was able to connect with her during that. And again, not looking for a job, not anything, just being genuine and just trying to help. And it blossomed to something phenomenal. It's been a great ride. And as I said, having mentors is absolutely a good thing. And I'm just going to throw it out there. If any one of your listeners are interested in being a lawyer, can feel free to pass on my email address to them. They can reach out to me, and I can talk more one-on-one, and so give them advice and how to go to law school, where to go to law school, and through the process.
I'll make life easier. If you have a LinkedIn, which you should, if
I do.
No, not you. Them. Oh. If you have LinkedIn, find him on LinkedIn and go ahead and message him directly.
There you go.
Know his name and you've seen his face, so you should have an easier time finding him on LinkedIn.
See, smart man right there.
Yes. So with that though, what's the trajectory? And we're gonna talk money for a very brief second. So what's your trajectory, or what's the trajectory of a corporate attorney? So you start at this position, that title is this, and the highest you can get is this.
So for me, and I presume for all corporate attorneys as well, you start in a law firm, right? So it depends on the law firm you go to, whether or not it's small, mid-size, or large. Small is less than 20, in my opinion. Mid-size is 20 to about 100. Large is 100 or more attorneys, right? And some firms have thousands and thousands of attorneys, multinational, all-star stuff. So I'm in-house right now. I'm working specifically for one company, one client. In order to go in-house, in my experience, and everyone else I've spoken to about it, you have to go to a law firm first to get trained. Most in-house counsel and most in-house attorneys don't like training younger attorneys. One, they don't have the time or the resources to do it. Law firms are designed, not saying they want to do that, they much rather have third year or above, to hit the ground running. And 3 to 5 years, it's a sweet spot. Your first year, fresh out of law school, you know nothing. And I emphasis on that. You know nothing. You think you know stuff, you don't. So year two, you're starting to get the feel for it. All right, things are going good. Year three, something clicks. I don't know what it was for me, but something magically clicked. I'm like, oh, great. This is awesome. I actually have an understanding. I was able to take on cases, lead cases, lead deals myself, smaller deals, but lead deals myself without much oversight from the partners, right? So if you want to stay in the law firm, you go from associate to senior associate to partner, right? And then depending on the firm, there's different levels of partner. There's equity partner, non-equity partner, and I don't need to go into the details of that. And again, it all depends on what state you're in and what the size of the firm. Again, if you're in a small firm, you might make 70, but going to law school after all those years and all that money, I don't think you should be making that. You should be making more. Mid-sized firm, you can make 105 or 100 to 150 as an associate.
We're talking about starting off. This is like the first salary.
Yeah. And then bigger firms, as I mentioned, 160 to 180. And again, these are the big firms. And again, all this information, most of the firms publicize their salary because it's lockstep, right? So you come in as a first year, you're making 160. Again, these are big firms, the multinational firms with thousands of attorneys, right? Again, you can look at Hogan Lovells, you can look at Cravath, you can look at all these other firms. It's public information. They pay their associates first year 180. But again, just look at the number. You're going to be stressed. They chew you up and spit you out. Absolutely. So you want to find a good match. You want to find where the culture is conducive to what you want and the workload is conducive to what you want, to the money that you're looking for. You don't want to just pick it for the money or just pick it for the culture.
You said they'll chew you up and spit you out. We can't just escape that. We need people to understand what that actually means so they know what they're getting at.
So again, most law firms require you to bill 1,800 to 1,900 hours a year minimum. And that's the minimum. Billing 1,900 hours, it's like, oh, great, you hit it. Why aren't you billing more, right? So that's not the number of hours you're in the office. That's not the number of hours you're working. That's the number of hours you're billing. So you're on a task, you're drafting something, you're reading something. That's the actual number of hours you're actually billing. Because I've been in the office some days 10 hours, only bill 7, right? I'm in meetings, stuff like that. I meet with my assistant, once on Fridays, my assistant and I met to discuss my workload for the coming weeks. Like, hey, she had access to my calendar, I had access to my assignments, and she updated everything. So that was like 45 minutes to an hour every Friday. I can't bill a client for that. I'm just trying to get organized. So I'm in the office for an hour, I'm working for an hour, but that's not being productive. And again, some law firms cut and again, because nothing, part of it is your learning. So some partners cut your hours, right? Because they can't bill all the hours you bill to the client because the client's not going to pay it, rightfully so, right? Because it's not fair to the client for you to be learning and they're paying for you to learn. So some of those hours are cut. So that's what I mean. And again, I've never worked in big law, biggest firm I've been to, 50 attorneys, but I was a clerk for one of the big firms my first year out of law school, and I had some experience, but again, it's not even remotely close as to being an associate there. So for any of your listeners, there are a bunch of articles online, videos online. You can go search, big law experience, like just Google big law experience, and you'll get some good stuff. You get some bad stuff. You get everything, right? They will tell you everything that goes on. And again, it's to be expected. If they're paying you that much money, they're going to get their money's worth out of you. So keep that in mind when you see those numbers.
Okay. Huh. So is there a cap? I'm assuming there's no real cap on the salary depending on the client. And
yeah. I mean, so that I don't know, because like me, I'm just a third year, so I don't really know what the cap is would be for, because once you make partner, right, it's based on your collectibles, right? So say you collect, again, I'm not a partner, so I can't speak on that. Say equity partners get a piece of what they collect and a piece of the profits, right? So you as a partner collect $1 million, right, from all your clients in 1 year, right, you would get 60% of that, maybe. Again, I don't know the exact number, but exactly. So, but I'm saying you have to be putting in those hours. You have to be collecting that money. Is so you can potentially bring home. I mean, not bring home. It's gross. Let's be honest, right? It's gross. You get in $600,000 for the year, and then the other 400 would be, paid out to associates, cover expenses, and again, all that money is pooled together in the firm, and pay employees their salaries, staff, assistant, paralegals, so on and so forth. So again, you having those, hearing those numbers and seeing those numbers are one thing, but actually getting there is another thing, right? Because like most people don't think about the work it takes to get there. Because me as a third year, I'm not bringing in $1 million a year. Some partners are, some partners aren't, right? So it's whatever you want out of it. Like if you want to, grind it out, make all that money, it's absolutely possible. If you don't, if you want to have a balance, one senior counsel I met, um, she loves her job, but she wants to spend time with her kids. She could have made partner several times. She turned it down every time. She's like, I want to be here from 8 to 5. I want to go home, spend time with my kids. She still works her butt off, makes a lot of money, but could she be making more? Absolutely. But she chose not to, simply because she wants to spend more time with her kids.
Respect. Okay. Okay. What are your hours like?
Mine. So the benefit of being an attorney and having your license, your hours, or whatever you make them, right? I mean, you can't be
You're working
struggling.
more than 40 hours.
Huh?
But you're working more than 40 hours.
Yes, absolutely yes. Again, you're supposed to be billing 35 to 40 hours a week. So in order to bill 35 to 40 hours a week, you got to be working more than 35 to 40 hours a week. So again, as I said, when I had deals closing, I was working 60, 70 hours some weeks, sometimes 80. But other times I was working, 45, 50. So it varies. And again, it all depends. And again, nothing comes up on us. It's not like it's sprung on us, right? We know. So the clients having deal negotiations, we're involved in deal negotiations, and you're like, okay, here is the timeline, the steps that we have to go through prior to close. Here's when we would like to close. And then, so we know during that time, as we get closer to close, stuff comes up, stuff needs to be changed. We're going to have to spend more time in there. But after deals close, we get a little break. I'm like, all right, cool, for like a week or two. And if there's other deals in the pipeline, they're coming right back to back, right? I've had that before, when they close a deal today and then tomorrow we're jumping on another deal. I remember I was in the office one night on a Friday night. Not gonna lie, Friday night we were trying to close. Clients based out of Cali. We're in Florida. The sellers were based in Texas, right? So we're on the phone. It was like 11 o'clock for us, so it was like 3 hours behind in Cali. As we're about to finalize everything, sign the deal, the seller was like, no, I'm not signing, because it was a net working capital. Again, I'm not going to go into detail of this. So she didn't, or attorney or accountant apparently didn't explain the net working capital amount to her. So the number she saw that she was getting for the deal was lower due to net working capital allocations, right? She's like, that makes no sense to me, blah, blah, blah. So we had to push everything back until Monday. So we're planning to close. We're there until like 11 o'clock on a Friday night. And then all of a sudden, some miscommunication occurred on their end. So over the weekend, her attorney and her accountant got with her and walked through everything. And Sunday night, they email us, hey, we're willing to close. We're going to close on Monday. So stuff like that comes up. You're working, you don't expect that on that day. And it just happens. You just kind of roll with the punches, because you're so close to closing, you're not going to back out a deal then, right? Mm-hmm. So, but overall, man, like it's very rewarding. And again, and people always see, because what we see online or all over the place are the big deals that happen. As I said, the Sprint and T-Mobile, but there's small mom and pop shops that are growing, mom and pop shops that want to sell their company, and that's where we come into play. Like we help them sell, we help them navigate. Here's a contract that, instead of them trying to negotiate with a bigger company by themselves, we help them. Or again, I am in-house now. I can't really talk about the experience much because I've been only doing it for five weeks, but when I was in practice in the law firms, did it for 2.5 years, so I can speak more on that. So just want to add a caveat there. So as I'm saying, like we help the mid-sized companies, small companies, large companies, all sizes, but people don't talk about the small ones and the mid-sized ones. Those companies need to grow too, right? The startups, we help them, do private offerings, right? The SEC doesn't care, right? You're facing liability. If you mess up on your taxes, IRS doesn't care. You're going to face liability. So part of my job is to help them navigate those regulations and rules, and are able to, again, it's sometimes it's tedious, don't get me wrong, but it's rewarding helping the client at the end of the day. Is like, hey, thank you so much. I was able to avoid certain liability and avoid certain complications. Because if you go forward and say you want to start a company and you want to go to your friends and family and outside sources for funds, right? Oftentimes you can't do that right, because that's a private offering, and they aren't sophisticated investors, right? Accredited investors according to SEC. So if you issue shares or securities to non-accredited investors, right, without giving certain disclosure or without getting certain waivers, you can face liability. And each state has its own separate regulations. So where we come in is we ask you, hey, where are you trying to go? What state you trying to, issue securities in? And then we help you get the proper licenses and help you navigate the regulations. And then that's just one example.
All right. Okay. So I also we definitely are getting to the end of this interview. But I want to give something light. I think that it's always important to know where a person comes from, because people are currently in their own place. And yes, one of those, it's not as heavy as the question sounds like it's leading to. It actually is what was the first profession that you remember wanting to do?
Me? I had a pipe dream back in the day of wanting to be an Olympian, but went to college, realized I wasn't that fast.
Hey, bro, you was solid in the 4. He was our 400 hurler for you. But you also was on the 4x4. I think you were watching it at times.
Oh, man.
Sit here and downplay like it wasn't like.
Oh, I mean, again, I realized I wasn't that fast. I ran against you. I ran against Terrence or against Reese. Again, realized wasn't that fast. And Antoine, Chase. Want me to keep going?
So the thing is when you get to college, you learn that everyone was a champ.
Everyone was rolling.
The best exactly. Where they came from. So
everyone was rolling. Exactly.
Yeah. I remember.
But on a serious note, I wanted to become either an investment banker or an accountant.
At what age? I said the first job.
No, real talk. My mom's an accountant. So I grew up doing that. So I wanted to become an accountant. And then I was like money. I started investing like at 16. So I loved one of the first books I read was not one of the first books, but one of the better books I read was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then that like
you read that when you were 5?
No.
Oh, I know.
Read when I was 16. And then I was like, yo, this is awesome. Let's do this. Right. So that's when I was like, all right, how can I combine my passion, I guess, for wanting to become a lawyer with, finance or economics, stuff like that. So again, that's why I got my bachelor's in finance. So in between finance or accounting, because again, my mom's an accountant.
Okay. And see, that is why it's so important that we do these interviews, because at the end of the day, people keep telling people this lie of you can be anything you want to be when you grow up. It is an absolute lie. You cannot become anything
exactly
you want to be when you grow up. Why? Because there's literally no job out there that you can check the box and the position is titled anything.
Exactly.
You have to put in something. So exactly. The way they can become anything is actively telling them you
exactly. You have to work.
I don't know.
And there's certain limitations. It's not like I'm 5'8", right? I can't say I want to become a basketball star like LeBron. That will never happen. Plus, I'm terrible at basketball.
Nate Robinson, don't do that. Muggsy Bogues, Earl Boykins. I'm from Cleveland. Shout out to my guy.
Here's the difference. They have skills. I don't.
And you can get those. But when I say you can't be anything, I'm not talking about the way he's saying it. I'm saying it in the sense that you have to know what to pursue. And today you've learned how to become a corporate attorney through information that he provided. And with that, I also have to say it's important to do research on things that are interesting to you because many people, frankly, take on positions and jobs that reflect their environment. And he just mentioned his mother. And frankly, his mother clearly had a great job, in my opinion, in finance. And for that reason, he could have grown up to still had a great job by just looking at his mother's blueprint and following through. And that's frankly the reason why many people take on particular jobs because what they see, what you see is oftentimes, unfortunately, and could be what you will be. And so that's why you have to diversify what's in your view and what's in your brain of what the opportunities are. So before I finish, let's get any takeaways that you may have, any last tidbits that you need to share. Yeah.
All right. So for anyone out there listening, interested in being a corporate lawyer, keep pushing. I say that because it's not easy getting there, and it's not cakewalk once you're in it. However, I do believe it's very rewarding. And as I've said this in the interview, and I say it again. What we as Black people, Black men, Black women, have seen about lawyers is public defender, prosecutor, right? There's nothing wrong with that, and I'll be very clear. That's very good practice area. That's a very good field. However, in my opinion, we need to branch out, as Mario said, diversify. We need to figure out what other areas we can affect change. So I have lots of colleagues and counterparts from law school who are public defenders and prosecutors, absolute phenomenal attorneys. However, they want to change the criminal justice system from within, right? I want to change those similar systems from without. I want to be in the room, the boardroom, where certain decisions are made that aren't and can't be made by a prosecutor or a public defender. So if we have allies in different areas of the law or different industries, I think it'd be beneficial that way. So again, pursue your dreams and keep grinding.
Man, get in the room, as we just said. Make sure you're in the room. If you want to make a difference, if you want to change something, make sure you're present, opposed to yelling outside of the building to try to hope that somebody on the inside hears you. But chances are they don't got to hear you, which is why you ain't inside. So make sure which is why I'm telling you, go ahead and learn as much as you can about the things that want to change. And actually, that takes a person down the path of living their passion. What do you want to see? We say be the change you want to see, but what do you want to see change in this world? And go do it. Figure out what it's going to take for you to successfully do that. Definitely appreciate your time, man. I can't explain how much it means to have you be the person that's actually doing this interview, because of the time we spent. I can't lie to you. I think you might have had a hint, but you might not have. My heart was broken when you left UC, bro. You stayed at my house. What did you stay at my house for the week of spring break for the track?
Man. Freshman year to sophomore. Yep.
Man, I genuinely do miss you, bro. I'm gonna have to. I take enough trips down to Florida. Definitely have to catch up with you at some point while I'm down there. I'm also gonna need offline for you to tell me, because this man at my house, he cooked boiled chicken. He's Jamaican. My guy's Jamaican. He did some boiled chicken. I might say it wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's boiled chicken. I didn't know you could boil chicken. I was seriously concerned about salmonella when he was boiling that chicken. The whole chicken, by the way. Not a leg or a thigh or a breast. It was the whole chicken he boiled. That thing was so glorious. So you want to tell me when we in this interview exactly, remind me how to do that. My wife is actually making jerk chicken tonight. So that's where our honeymoon was in Jamaica. So we actually, Montego Bay. So we actually enjoyed those little things. You said what, bro?
Congratulations, man.
Definitely appreciate that. I appreciate that. And congratulations to you. You have a wife and you have a little one. Sounds like you have a son. And that's it, right? It's only one.
Just one, man. Just one.
Okay. You can afford it. And that's what we can say about this whole interview. He can afford it. So definitely appreciate your time. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you've taken a lot of information. He's giving you resources. He's giving you actual blueprints. Remember, success leaves clues. And frankly, you can also not be that parent that you're looking at, or be the parent that's waking up every day despising that they have to go to work. You can actually enjoy going to work, and you can get paid in a way that you actually are going to be able to live the life that you want to live. So figure out what that is. And remember, you can't be anything you want to be when you grow up, but you can be fill in the blank.
Exactly.
Like that, my brother, I got to say thank you, and to it ease.